Yo, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Good to have you here. It's Wyatt Hurts. It's Titanfall. It's attrition. It's airbase. And I think the last time we saw airbase here, I had a really solid run here with that carbine. There were some memorable clips that even made that first montage that I put together. There is a second one in the works. Hopefully, I can find some. I always feel with this channel like I always want to be able to do something better than the last thing that I did that was similar. It's just not possible, But that's kind of the goal. I'm waiting to get hopefully some good clips for the montage, and then I'll try and whip it together, But if I have to settle for some more mediocre ones just to get something else out, well, then I will. But last time I was here, really the point of all that was the last time I was here with this carbine, I was tearing shit up. And I do it here, I have a pretty solid run here as well. Starting things off, I do love the initial battles. If you can swing it in your favor early on when the two teams clash in this big hangar, from on top of it and within it, if you can swing it in your favor, you're gonna have a pretty solid run to start things off, And I don't have a lot of I don't deal with too many pilots here early on. There's a lot of minions that populate this area when the match starts, and I kind of take advantage of that as well as I can. It's not that I'm not looking for pilots. There just really wasn't many that crossed my line of sight, But I certainly put down these grunts that were flooding into the area, So let's take a quick look at this loadout. This is a similar build to that last time we were here on airbase. The carbine, the suppressor is on there. However, it's a different sight. It's the HCOG this time rather than the holoscope. I tried mixing it up, for more of a running gun feel, or gives it a bit more of that running gun quality. And you still do have that mid-range use of this weapon with this scope on there. But I really do prefer the holo sight on. I'm carrying the charge rifle as my Titan killer right now. I think I'm tracking a pilot, aren't I? Yes, I think I am. That's why I swung wide out here. But then I catch a glimpse of all this excitement, all this activity up here on this upper level with my active radar pulse, which is next in the loadout. And I decide to kind of divert my attention that way if I can. I'm carrying the satchel charges. We saw me put it to use, or at least one of them, but we really don't see much from them. I'm carrying the stealth kit in my perks along with the minion detection. For those of you unaware, the stealth kit allows me to move quietly. Footsteps are less obvious or completely muted. I'm not 100%. And the exhaust, from my the exhaust from my jumps is harder to see by the end. It's harder to spot. It's harder for the enemy to spot with that particular perk in there. Anyway, a pretty solid mount up here. That great neck snap on that one man caught unawares, that one pilot. And I get up here, drop the Titan, pull in a couple more kills along the way, and start going to town with my... We saw this build last episode, the last Titanfall content, the last Titanfall match over there on Smuggler's Cove. We saw this exact same build. I had some good success with it there. Not quite as much here, but this chain gun, great for just working over the pilots, working over the foot soldiers in general, putting down grunts and minions and pilots. But when you square off, when you're squaring off against the Titans, you can get a little outmatched if you're not careful, especially if a pair of them come your way. Anyway, so it's the Ogre chassis, the chain gun, the electric smoke. You saw me dish off that cluster missile. I don't really think it did too much, at that range anyway. And I have the faster autoloader and the core extender in there, and you can see I've drawn quite a bit of attention myself. The the enemy Titans are beginning to bear down on me from up atop this ramp. There's a second one, if you've noticed. I have this guy in my sights, but there's a second one coming into view now. He had been putting a little fire my way from the left, and they managed, despite having my shield core activated, despite having gone plaid, as I like to call it, I'm forced. They whittled me down. They put me out of commission, or they scrapped my big old ogre, and I was forced to eject. But I'm still kicking. I'm coming back here. I'm looking if I can, and it's very unlikely that I may get a little revenge on one of these, perhaps both of them. But anyway, and here I go. I rodeo this sucker, and he is a little weak at this point. He's maybe about 65%. Full armor at that point, and really, with a little help, I must have been getting a little help from somebody in the process, because that went down really fast, and I got my revenge on that guy, and I come in here with the active radar pulse activated. I saw the flash of that enemy Titan behind the pillar. I had already committed to that mount, before realizing that he'd already been doomed, but I got stuck up there, nice and high up there in the rafters. Sat up there for a second, doing my wall hang like a fly on a wall, and trying to figure out my next move, and then I moved on my way, and here we go. Charge rifle coming into action. So I'm putting the entire loadout to use here if I can. I'm well aware that that turret gun is currently in enemy hands, and I'm trying to avoid a line of sight with that, while also trying to do a little bit of damage. And I'm bobbing and weaving here. You know, it's pretty nice using the different lines of sight that this position offered. Unfortunate that this man, the smart pistol wielder, came in behind me silently and put me down. You know, but beyond that, I think I was playing it pretty well. It's always good gameplay, even when you're posting up on a location. It's always good gameplay when you when you're moving around and using the different lines of sight and keep your enemies guessing as to where you're going to pop out next, you know, even on a post-up, right? Anyway, a little 360 spin on that sucker, a little flare, you know, a little extra added flair to that entry as I bring in the ogre one more time, and I have the high ground, and I don't think I actually hold it for too long. Eventually, I was looking to try and take advantage of it. I do catch kudos. Kudos on you, sir, for trying to sneak up on me, but a big fail as I caught you coming around the corner. And initially, I had wanted to just kind of post up on the high ground and rain a little fire down their way, and I even do one more check here, but it's not long before I finally decide, well, I'm not really getting much moving into this area. You know, it looks like my team's holding a bit of a wider perimeter. I don't have the lines of sight I'm looking for. I can't really do any damage from up there. It's time to move down and try and get into the thick of things, as we're only holding a very small lead at this point in time, 213 to 204, a really close round. You're going to see it's filled with a lot of familiar faces. Well, not necessarily familiar, but a lot of the same guys that I've been playing with in the previous video that made it up here on the channel. A lot of, you know, familiar names in that regard, you know. So we know that teams are pretty evenly matched, and it's certainly shown here in the scoreboard, or on the scoreboard as we speak, as the kind of the lead is shifting back and forth with each new kill, you know. That's how close things are. And I'm kind of trying to work over this Titan in the distance, you know. And of course, once he was taking some serious damage from multiple locations. We were holding the turret gun as well. And you know what? Once that happens, once those shields go down, that chain gun becomes that much more effective. You know, hitting those glowing pink panels of his Titan will do that much more damage, and really does even things out when you're wielding a weapon like this chain gun, you know. And I try and kind of repeat the process, but I'm forced into cover. Armor down to about half health at this point in time. Was waiting for my shields to recharge. They do, but they're already depleted again. They're already depleted anew. And I just really did a little bit of work. Really just tried to avoid the Titan fire that was coming in my way, unsuccessfully, mind you. But I did, you know, scrap quite a few grunts, and I think I even pulled out a pilot kill before I finally was forced to eject, forced to bail, and a pretty nice ejection, almost a pure ejection, straight into the mount on the sucker who had scrapped me, you know, or who had been a major part of my demise there, you know. Yeah, but of course I'm forced to scramble as he bails early. He was right on the mark there, was well aware of what was going on, and made the smart play to bail, try to pick me off of his shoulder if he could. I'm forced to regroup, you know. But as that all went down, you know, that close round slipped out of our grasp, you know. What was looking to be a pretty favorable round for us, well, it fell apart for us there, as I was, well, for me in particular, as I was tied up in that final little exchange, you know, going from the ejection to the to the botched mount, you know. And now I have a massive distance to cover after dealing. Mind you, that was a pretty decent turnaround on the guy who had me, you know, was lining me up from behind. But I have a big distance to try and close here on both the horizontal and the vertical as I make a mad dash for the dropship, you know, at this point. And amazingly, I get there. Good goddamn thing I didn't pull the trigger on that C4, that satchel charge, and blow my ass up. I wasn't aware until I actually cleared the wall that I hadn't actually, you know, tossed it over it entirely, you know, and it was actually waiting there to suicide myself, to blow my nuts off, had I been a little premature on that trigger. But anyway, I do manage to evac. I thought it was a pretty slick evac, considering it was a really, I I had been stuck down on that ground level for a little bit too long, and like I said, I had a long distance to try and a big gap to close to get to that dropship, and not much time to do it. And I just thought overall, pretty solid performance by myself, pretty solid round, a lot of fun, really close, some good teams, some good players in there. So let's take a look at some of the names and numbers. We'll start with the winners, of Fran Kazi there, 96 with 66 attrition points. Pretty solid. Looking at across, Death's got a little bit out of control for him. Going down one more, 66 as well. Pop Gods. The 50 is what you want. Zenobian Rebel there, 64, and Commander Bosco, 54. So the top four up there, each playing a role. And actually, when you compare 5th and 6th place up there to our 5th and 6th place, that's where the round was won and lost. Was in those two positions, because they're, their 5th and 6th just outperformed our 5th and 6th, So that's where it was won and lost. Myself, there 80 attrition points, big score on the team, 8 pilot kills, 2 Titan takedowns, but really the big column there was the minions. I had a great start there in the central hangar, and it just continued all the way through till the end when I was, I had multiple Titans bearing down on me in that corner. When I was kind of pinched off in that corner, dropped the E-smoke, and was just kind of working over the group of AI that were in the area before I was finally forced to eject, So a lot of minions taken down there, 40 in total, and my deaths kept in check with only 1. So a pretty solid performance there. You can't really fault me for the loss. Icebox 56 right below me, great round there as well, 13, 2, 14, and only 2 deaths given up. Smashatron hit the quota, 50, that's what you're wanting, and even Furin Kazan, only 5 shy of it, So some good performances by the top 4 on both teams, but again, as I said, the round was won and lost in 5th and 6th. In the 5th and 6th slots on either side. So, anyway, I thought it was a good round. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I hope you'll thumb it. I hope to see you in the next one that comes out here. But until then, well, you know it. And I'll just bid you all a farewell with a tip of my hat. Good day, gentlemen and lady. Yes, good day.